Everyone heard the heavy footsteps as Marielle walked into the office of her husband, Damian. Her hands trembled as she gripped her cane, blind but determined to plead. "Damian, I'm still your wife. Don't replace me," she begged. Vanessa burst out laughing, the mistress calling herself the wife. "You don't belong with him. You're blind and you even stutter. I'm what he needs, not dead weight." Damian stood. His tone was ice cold. "Enough, Marielle. I've made my decision." But before he could say more, Marielle suddenly clutched her stomach. "Hello, it's Uncle Joel. Come along with me to the very end, and I promise you will be delighted, thrilled, and inspired by this amazing story. Enjoy." Everyone heard the loud clack of high heels as the executive floor doors eased open. Employees turned, whispering and glancing at each other. This wasn't an ordinary visitor. It was Marielle, the wife of their CEO, Damian, standing at the entrance of his office, leaning on her cane, breathing carefully, fingers shaking as she forced herself forward. "It's Mrs. Marielle," a secretary whispered, hurriedly tucking some papers into a drawer. They didn't know why she was there, but they could feel the gravity. Though blind, Marielle was neatly dressed, simple yet elegant, a long white dress, hair combed and tidy, a face marked by exhaustion but full of courage. One step at a time, she crossed the office floor. "Damian," she called softly, voice laced with doubt and pleading. Inside the large office, Damian sat in his swivel chair, eyes cold, busy with papers, visibly annoyed by his wife's sudden arrival. He stood and moved quickly toward her. "Marielle, what are you doing here?" he asked coolly, the irritation obvious. Marielle pressed a hand to her chest and drew a deep breath. "Damian, I'm still your wife. Don't abandon me. I didn't give up when I lost my sight. Please don't throw me away now." The whole office fell silent. Staff couldn't look straight at her, ashamed on her behalf. Instead of their CEO being humiliated, it was his wife begging for mercy. Before Damian could answer, the door opened again. Vanessa, the glamorous mistress, walked in wearing a dress, sharp heels, and carrying an expensive bag. She smirked when she saw Marielle. "Oh wow," Vanessa said sarcastically. "You really made the effort to come here even blind. You must feel you don't belong with Damian anymore, right?" Marielle's lips trembled. She didn't know how to fight words that cut like knives. Vanessa raised her voice so everyone could hear. "Look at yourself. You're blind. Useless. I'm what Damian needs, beautiful, smart, and able to keep up with all his ambitions. You're just a burden." "Vanessa, that's enough," Damian cut in, but his tone was still cold. Marielle couldn't hold it in. She moved closer to Damian, clutching his arm like it was her only strength. "Damian, I'm begging you. Don't leave me. I'm your wife. We vowed before God. Even if I'm blind, I can still love you. I can still be your wife." Vanessa laughed, loud and dripping with contempt. "Is this the woman you want for life, Damian? A blind woman who can't do anything?" Look at her. Pitiful Marielle's knees shook, but she forced herself to stand straight. "I'm not pitiful, Vanessa. You have no idea how much I love my husband or how much I'm willing to give for him." Damian closed his eyes, trapped between them. He couldn't defend Marielle. Instead, he yanked her hand off his arm. "Marielle," he said coldly, "that's enough. You're humiliating yourself." Everyone froze. Employees felt a stab of pain for Marielle. The very man who should have been her ally had just pushed her away. "Damian," Marielle whispered, voice full of hurt, "are you humiliating me in front of everyone?" "Don't you get it?" Damian suddenly shouted, making everyone look. "I'm done. I want to end this. I can't take care of you for the rest of my life. I don't want to be tied to someone blind." It felt like a knife in Marielle's chest. The air around her turned cold. She stepped back slowly, gripping her cane, almost stumbling. A staffer rushed in to help, but Damian stopped them. "Let her be." "Sir Damian, that's too much," one secretary muttered, but the CEO didn't answer. Vanessa, meanwhile, smiled wider and walked up to Damian, taking his arm to show the room who mattered more. "Now everyone knows who you should choose," she purred. Though Marielle couldn't see, she heard everything. She bowed her head, holding back tears. Before she reached the door, she stopped and turned back. "Damian, she said softly but firmly. Even if you don't love me anymore, I'm still your wife. I will never trade the time I loved you. I hope that one day you'll see the person you married, not the person you pushed away." With that, she walked out, forcing her trembling legs to keep steady. The employees were silent, chests heavy. Damian stood there, eyes cold. Vanessa grinned like she had won. Inside Marielle's heart, a wound began to form, one that would change both their lives. When Marielle returned to their mansion, each step felt heavy. She held her cane, head bowed, drained. The house was quiet, but Damian's cold words still echoed. "I'm done. I can't take care of you forever. I won't be tied to someone blind." The words hit her heart again and again. She shut her bedroom door and lay on the bed, hugging her pillow as she sobbed. But she was keeping a small secret, a pregnancy test she had bought and slipped into her bag before going to Damian's office. For weeks she'd felt different, dizzy, easily tired, her body changing. Now she held the little box, fingers shaking as she opened it. "How will I know if it's positive or not when I can't even see?" she whispered, hardly believing she was in this situation. She paused, then called their longtime housekeeper. "Nanny Nina. Can you come in for a moment?" The door quickly opened. Their elderly nanny, who had been with the family for years and was like a second mother to Marielle, stepped in. "Mom, why does your voice sound so sad?" she asked, approaching the bed and noticing Marielle's swollen eyes. Marielle handed her the pregnancy test. "Nina, please look." I don't know how Nanny Nina took it, glanced down and almost dropped it. Her hands shook as she closed her eyes for a second. "Mom," she said faintly, "there are 2 lines. It's positive. You're pregnant." The world stopped for Marielle. Her eyes widened, though she couldn't see the test. Her hand flew to her stomach. She could hardly believe it. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, voice trembling. Nanny Nina nodded, even though she knew Marielle couldn't see it. "Yes, Mom. You're going to be a mother. You and Mr. Damian have a child." Tears poured down Marielle's cheeks. "Nina, Damian and I, we're going to have a baby." Nina sat beside her and embraced her. "Don't be afraid, Mom. This is God's gift to you, a new reason to fight." But with the joy came fear. "How will I tell Damian, Nina? He said I was a burden. What if he thinks our child is a burden too?" "No, Mom," Nina said firmly. "This is your child, and his. The baby is innocent. If he won't accept it, I'll stand beside you myself. We'll protect this child." Marielle cried harder and clung to Nina, finding strength in her arms. The next morning, she woke early, eyes still puffy. She dressed in a loose, comfortable dress, avoiding tight clothes to hide a belly that had barely begun to grow. Before going downstairs, she held her stomach. "Baby, we'll keep this a secret for now. It's not time yet. Don't worry, I'll fight for you." In the kitchen, Nanny Nina greeted her. "Mom, I made you some warm milk. You need your strength, not just for you, but for your child." Marielle took the cup and forced a smile. "Thank you, Nina. You're the only one." I have Nina stroked her hair. "You're not alone, Mom. Hold on to your faith. You can do this. Don't be afraid. Whatever Mr. Damian says, I'm on your side." As she sipped the milk, Marielle steeled herself. The fight would be long, but now she carried a life within her. She couldn't give up. In the library, alone, she touched her stomach and whispered, "Even if your father can't see me, I will always see you. You'll be my strength, the reason I get back up." For the first time since all the hurt, a small smile touched her lips. The week began heavily at Herrera Corporation. Damian faced a stack of paperwork, but yesterday's scene kept replaying. Marielle's arrival, her tears, her pleading, and how he humiliated her. Before the memory could fade, Vanessa swept into his office in a red corporate dress, confident in every move, folders in hand, smirking. "Damian, love," she cooed as she set down the folders. "I've got a few reports, but business isn't your only problem. You have a bigger one." Damian looked up, the annoyance obvious. "What now, Vanessa?" She perched on the edge of his desk. "It's about Marielle. I know she used to matter to you, but she doesn't belong with you anymore. You can see she's just a burden, blind and helpless. It's all drama." Damian sighed. "Enough, Vanessa. She's still my wife." Vanessa smirked, clearly with a plan. "Wife? Sure. But look at this." She opened a folder showing edited photos of Marielle made to look drunk and out of control with her cane, plus a forged statement claiming Marielle had developed depression and was dangerous to be around. Damian's face burned. "What is this?" "Proof," Vanessa said, arching a brow. "Proof she isn't stable. You're the CEO of a major company. What happens to your reputation if word gets out your wife is a liability and you can't even manage your own household? Do you want investors questioning your leadership?" Silence. Damian still felt a pang for Marielle, but fear tugged harder. His image, the board's respect, the shareholders' confidence. Vanessa leaned in close. "There's an easy way out, an annulment." Just sign, she handed him an envelope with the papers. Damian took it, but didn't open it. He stared out the office window, thinking of laughter with Marielle before she lost her sight. The quiet evenings, the simple dinners and conversations. Vanessa's voice cut through. "Aren't you tired, Damian? Every time you go home, you see her. Do you want to be a slave to a blind woman forever?" Damian's chest tightened. "You don't know everything, Vanessa," he said quietly. She smiled and brushed his arm. "I know enough, and I know you deserve a woman who can keep up with you, not one who drags you down. Choose me." He didn't answer. He slid the envelope into his desk drawer and stood. "Leave. I need to think." That night at the mansion, Marielle sat quietly on the veranda, hand on her stomach. The thought of Damian's coldness chilled her. He still wasn't home. Nina approached with a blanket. "Mom, you'll catch a chill." "Come inside," Marielle forced a smile. "Thanks, Nina. Sometimes I wonder, if Damian really leaves, I don't know how I'll raise this child." Nina held her hand. "You won't be alone. God is with you. Your child is with you. And I am here. Whatever happens, we'll make it." Marielle wept and hugged Nina. She had no idea that across town Damian sat in his car, unable to enter the house, gripping the annulment papers. He closed his eyes, crushed by the weight of his choice. The next day, Vanessa called Damian for a private lunch. The table was set, wine poured, music light. But Damian felt heavy. "Love, sign the papers," Vanessa insisted, sliding him a pen. "Once you do, your problems are over. No more embarrassment. You'll finally be free." Damian stared at the documents. One question nagged him. Would life really be better without Marielle? He began to believe Vanessa's lies. A grand hotel ballroom in Manhattan glittered. Crystal chandeliers, long tables, red carpet for the annual corporate gala of Damian's company. When he arrived with Vanessa on his arm, heads turned. Damian wore a black suit, serious-faced. Vanessa sparkled in a silver gown, clinging to his arm like a real wife. "Ladies and gentlemen, our CEO, Mr. Damian Herrera, with his lovely partner," the host announced. The crowd applauded. "Partner," people repeated, not knowing Marielle was still his legal wife. Back at the mansion, Marielle sat quietly in the living room, hand on her belly, trying to stay calm. The news mentioned a corporate gala for the city's wealthy elite. Damian hadn't taken her. She knew why. She didn't need to see it. She could feel he'd brought Vanessa. Nina approached with warm milk. "Mom, drink this, please." "You don't want your blood pressure to drop," Marielle forced a smile. "Thank you, Nina. I know where Damian is. He's with her." Nina fell silent, unsure how to comfort her. In the kitchen, two house staff whispered, not knowing Marielle could hear. "Hey, someone from the office said Mr. Damian's getting married. To Vanessa? Guess that's why he barely comes home." Poor Mrs. Marielle. It felt like ice water over Marielle. Her breath caught, a tear slid down her cheek. She stood, knees shaking. "Nina," she whispered, "did you hear that? Damian's marrying Vanessa." "Just a rumor, Mom," Nina replied quickly, trying to shield her, though she suspected it was true. "No, Nina. It's true. I can feel it." Marielle cradled her stomach. "If it's true, what happens to me and our child? What if he really throws me away?" Nina hugged her tight. "Don't think like that. What matters is your safety and the baby's. If Mr. Damian doesn't want to stand by you, he doesn't deserve your love." But no matter the comfort, the pain was fierce. Marielle wasn't angry at Vanessa in that moment, she was angry at herself, feeling worthless as a wife. At the event, as the night wore on, Vanessa clung closer to Damian. "This is how it should be," she whispered, smiling at the onlookers. "Just the two of us. Feels good, doesn't it?" Damian didn't answer, nor did he pull away when she took his hand. Across the ballroom, a few board members watched and murmured. "Vanessa's a good choice, strong, presentable. Not like his blind wife." Exactly. Damian deserves someone like her. Damian heard it. Instead of getting angry, he felt the pressure mount. Maybe Vanessa was right. Maybe Marielle really was just a burden. He came home past midnight. The mansion was quiet. He barely acknowledged Marielle, who sat awake on the veranda, hand on her stomach. "How was the event?" she asked quietly, trying to sound normal. "It was nice," he answered, flat, emotionless. "Don't stay up." He went straight to the bedroom without looking back. Marielle stayed on the veranda and finally wept. Holding her belly, she whispered to the life inside, "Baby, even if your father doesn't love me anymore, I will never leave you. You are my reason to fight." She prayed silently that one day Damian would see her value, and their child's. But in her heart she knew the man who had once loved her with everything was turning his back. Rain lashed the windows that day. Alone in her room, Marielle couldn't settle after hearing Damian plan to marry Vanessa. Her hand returned again and again to her stomach. "Baby, don't let go." "We'll make it," she whispered through trembling lips. Nina came with a glass of water. "Mom, please eat something. You can't live on tears and worry." Before Marielle could answer, a sharp pain gripped her lower abdomen. She doubled over, gripping her belly. "Nina, it hurts." Nina rushed to support her. "My God, Mom. We have to get you to the hospital." She called the driver and they sped to the nearest hospital. Soaked from the rain, Marielle was wheeled inside, shivering and pale. In the car, she fumbled for her phone. "Call Damian," she pleaded. Nina nodded and dialed again and again, voicemail every time. She tried another number, but a different woman answered. "Hello, this is Vanessa." Nina gasped and hung up, unwilling to let Marielle hear that voice. At the hospital, nurses met them and pushed Marielle into the ER. "Critical, she's bleeding," a nurse shouted. Marielle lay on the bed, barely conscious. As the fourth line went in, she gripped Nina's hand. "Nina, don't let anything happen to my baby." "Hold on, Mom. I'm right here. You and the baby will be safe," Nina said through tears. Moments later, a serious-faced woman in a white coat walked in and checked the monitors, then looked at Marielle. "Mrs. Herrera, you nearly lost the baby. Stress and severe fatigue almost caused a miscarriage. If you hadn't gotten here in time, the baby might not have survived." Tears streamed down Marielle's face. "Doctor, is my child alive?" she whispered. "Yes," the doctor said, "but you must be careful. No stress. Don't cry yourself sick. Don't neglect yourself. For the baby's sake, you have to fight." While the doctor spoke, Nina asked softly, "Doctor, her husband hasn't come. Do we need to notify him?" Marielle shook her head and tried to smile. "Don't, Nina. I don't want him to know. He's busy with Vanessa." The doctor and Nina exchanged looks, both feeling the weight of it all. Meanwhile, at a high-end bar in Midtown Manhattan, Damian was celebrating with Vanessa and a few business friends, sitting in a VIP lounge with a glass of liquor. Vanessa leaned against him, whispering sweet nothings. "See? We're perfect together. Forget Marielle. She's useless. Stop worrying about her." Damian nodded, a shred of doubt stirring, but he chose silence, avoiding his conscience. Back at the hospital, Marielle forced herself to sleep, hand on her belly. "I'm sorry, baby," she whispered. "I can't protect you alone, but I promise I won't give up on you. Even blind, even abandoned by your father, I won't quit." Nina sat nearby, rosary in hand, eyes full of worry and anger at Damian. "If it were up to me, I'd never let you go back to him, ma'am." "You don't deserve this." Marielle smiled faintly. "I don't know, Nina. Maybe someday he'll change, but right now I'm thinking only of my child." The next day, the doctor returned. "Mrs. Herrera, you got through last night, but remember, one wrong move and you could lose the baby. If anyone or anything is hurting you, distance yourself. Your safety and the baby's safety are what matter." Marielle nodded. In her heart, a decision slowly formed. She would stop relying on Damian's love. The baby would be her reason to stay strong. On the other side of the city, Damian knew none of it. He thought everything was fine, while Marielle fought alone, against pain, ridicule, and abandonment. In that hospital room, Marielle's world seemed to collapse. But it was also where her strength as a mother began to rise. The hospital room was quiet, only the monitors beeping and the low hum of the AC. Eyes closed, Marielle held her belly. The nurse had just finished a routine check, but she still looked weak. "Mom, try to rest," Nina whispered, adjusting the blanket. Suddenly the door opened. A man in a white coat walked in, clipboard in hand, tall and well-composed, a gentle smile on his face. Nina paused. "Good morning, Mrs. Herrera." The doctor greeted softly. "I'm assigned to your care today." Marielle frowned. The voice sounded familiar. "Adrian?" The man's eyes lit up. "Marielle, you remember me? We were college classmates. You were always top of our literature class, right?" Memories flashed. A young man who always offered help during difficult research days. Marielle slowly smiled. "Adrian, is that you?" He nodded, delighted. "I never imagined you'd be my patient. So much has changed, but you're still the strong woman I knew." Over the next days, Adrian visited often, not just as a doctor, but as an old friend returned to her life. He checked her vitals, brought fruit, even recorded books with audio for her. "I read this myself for you," he said, handing over earphones. "So even if you can't see, you can still feel the story." Marielle froze, then smiled. "Thank you, Adrian. You don't have to do all this, but you do anyway." He met her gaze, serious. "You're not alone, Marielle." Nina watched quietly, sensing Marielle's ease with Adrian. But she also knew Damian would hate what he saw. Back at the office, Damian focused on reports until a staffer casually mentioned, "Sir, I think I saw your wife at the hospital the other day, talking to a doctor." They seemed close. Damian's head snapped up, chest tightening. "What do you mean?" "Nothing, sir, just—" They looked concerned for each other. Damian said nothing, but he couldn't shake it. That night he decided to go to the hospital without warning Marielle. He walked into the room and found Adrian seated at her bedside, handing her a cup of warm milk. "Careful, don't spill," Adrian said gently, helping Marielle. They stopped when the door opened. "Marielle." "Damian," she breathed, startled. Damian stared at Adrian, eyes cold. "What are you doing here?" Adrian smiled calmly. "Doing my job as her doctor and as a friend who has cared about her for a very long time." Damian stepped closer, steps heavy. "A friend? Or are you using your position to get close to my wife?" "Damian, enough," Marielle interjected, voice shaking. "Adrian is taking care of me because I got sick." "Not that you'd know. You're busy with your mistress." The room went still. Damian swallowed whatever reaction he had. Adrian stepped out to give them space. "Shouldn't I be the one here?" Damian asked coldly. "I'm your husband." Marielle closed her eyes, fighting tears. "But you weren't here. When I nearly passed out, you were with Vanessa. If Adrian hadn't come, I might not be alive." Damian had no answer. Jealousy gave way to crushing guilt. Instead of admitting it, he left without a word. The next day, Adrian returned with hot soup. "How are you? Did you rest?" Marielle nodded, forcing a smile. "A little. Thank you for everything. I don't know how I'd manage without you." He clasped her hand for a moment, earnest. "You don't have to manage alone." "I'm here, Marielle, and I won't let you be hurt again." Out in the hall, Damian watched, fists clenched. For the first time, fear gripped him. He might truly lose Marielle. A spark of jealousy flared into fire. Late that night in his office, Damian stared at a glass of whiskey. The afternoon scene replayed, Adrian at Marielle's side, laughter light between them. A pang hit his chest. Was it jealousy or fear? He had long treated Marielle as a burden. So why did someone else's kindness to her unnerve him so much? "No," he muttered, "it can't be." Adrian had no right to take Marielle from him. She was still his wife. But another voice whispered, "And what have you done for your wife except hurt and shame her?" He shook his head and drank, trying to drown his conscience. The next morning, Vanessa arrived as usual, red dress demanding attention. She glided to Damian, feigning concern. "You look tired, Damian." "Didn't sleep?" "I'm fine," he said coolly. "Just thinking." Vanessa sensed opportunity and leaned in to whisper, "If this is about Marielle and that doctor, I'm not surprised. People have seen Adrian in her room a lot, and honestly, given how close they seem." She paused, pretending reluctance. "If I were you, I'd be suspicious." The oil fed the fire in Damian's chest. "What are you implying?" "I'm not judging," Vanessa said sweetly, "but Marielle is blind. She leans on others. If Adrian is always there, maybe she's fallen for him." Damian said nothing, but the jealousy throbbed. He couldn't think straight and chose to believe Vanessa's poison. At home, Marielle tried to stay calm. Discharged from the hospital, she moved quietly through the living room with her cane while Nina prepared dinner. "Mom, please eat before Sir gets home," Nina said gently. "Yes, Nina." "Thank you," Marielle replied. The door burst open. Damian strode in with Vanessa and a stack of documents. Marielle's heart went cold. "Damian," she greeted softly, "I'm glad you came home." He ignored her and slammed the papers on the table. "What is the meaning of this, Marielle?" he barked. She frowned. "What are you talking about?" Vanessa stepped up, eager to perform. "She won't admit it, but everyone's talking. You're the only one blind to the truth." Tears spilled down Marielle's face as she searched for Damian's face. "He's my friend, and my doctor. He's only helping me." "I'm not cheating on you, Damian." "I'm not stupid," he snapped. "I saw how close you are." "People say you have a relationship. That's not true," she cried. "I've never loved anyone but you." But Damian was deaf to her pleas. He stepped in close and spoke through clenched teeth. "From now on, you have no place here. Get out of this house." "Damian," Marielle's voice nearly broke, "I'm your wife. How can you say that in front of others?" Vanessa, grinning in victory, chimed in, "He's right. You have no right to be here. Leave before this gets worse." "Sir," Nina cut in, tears in her eyes, "this is wrong. I swear before God she's innocent." "She's done nothing wrong." Damian wouldn't listen. He turned his back, leaving them in tears, and went upstairs. The next day, Nina packed a small bag. Just a few clothes, Marielle's cane and personal items. No jewelry, no money from Damian. "Mom," Nina asked, voice shaking, "what will you do?" "You have nowhere to go." Marielle squeezed her hand and forced a smile through swollen eyes. "Don't worry, Nina. I'll survive. I'll fight." Nina hugged her. "I'm going with you." "I won't leave." That day they left the mansion for good. No husband came to stop them. No one ran after them to admit a mistake. Only the weight of Marielle's heart, Vanessa's deceit, and the secret child who had become her strength went with them. As the car pulled away, Marielle turned her face to the window. Though she couldn't see, she held a promise in her chest. "There will come a day, Damian, when you'll know the truth. I only hope it won't be too late." Days after leaving, Marielle found a small rented room with Nina. No fine furniture, no luxuries, but enough. She was free from the shouting and the insults, even if the future was uncertain. One night, while she lay awake wondering how to start over, Nina asked, "Mom, what's our plan?" "We can't live like this forever." Marielle sighed. "I don't know, Nina. But I know I have to stand up. Not just for myself, but for my child." She touched her belly and managed a small smile. Weeks later, Marielle received an invitation from a foundation that helps people with disabilities. They'd learned she was blind and a former music teacher and invited her to a program. On her first visit, nerves fluttered as Nina guided her inside. Children with different disabilities filled the room. Some in wheelchairs, some deaf, some with braces. Despite their limits, laughter and applause echoed. "Welcome, Miss Marielle," a woman staffer greeted. "We've heard about you. If you'd like, you can volunteer as a teacher here." Marielle's eyes widened. "Me? How? I can't see." The staffer smiled. "It isn't a hindrance, ma'am. The children need guidance, inspiration, and someone who understands them. And we see that in you." Tears of joy brimmed. For the first time after so much pain, someone believed in her again. She began teaching simple music and songs. Though she couldn't see their faces, she felt their joy in their voices. "Teacher, listen," a boy shouted, playing a small drum. "You're amazing, Matthew," Marielle said with a smile. "Keep going." Music is for everyone, not just for those with perfect eyes or ears. Soon the children adored her. They called her Teacher M, excited whenever she came. She became more than a music teacher. She became a safe place for their sadness and fears. Over time, she inspired not only the kids, but also other volunteers and parents. They came to her saying, "If you can do it, Marielle, so can we. Thank you for your courage." Busy as she was, she couldn't escape memories of Damian. At night, alone, she remembered their happier days. Moments of tenderness before anger and neglect consumed their marriage. Sometimes she'd stroke her belly and whisper, "Baby, I hope one day your father understands you're a blessing, not a mistake." A special day came at the foundation. Talent Day, when the kids would perform what they'd learned. Marielle asked to perform with them. She was nervous, but she said yes. The hall was packed, parents, donors, volunteers. When her group was called, she took the microphone and sang a simple song of hope. The children joined with drums, guitars, and clapping. As they played, Marielle felt a freedom she hadn't known in years. She couldn't see their smiles, but she heard their heartbeats, and it was enough. The applause shook the hall. Parents came to her afterward. "Thank you. You gave our kids strength." She couldn't hold back tears. At last, she had a reason to smile again. She still had worth even after being abandoned and rejected by the person who had meant everything. That night, as she and Nina walked home, Marielle tilted her face to the sky. She couldn't see the stars, but in her heart she felt a new light rising. "Nina, maybe this is my new beginning," she whispered. Nina squeezed her hand. "Yes, ma'am. And I'm sure one day Mr. Damian will realize the kind of woman he let go." Marielle smiled through tears. "I don't know if I can forgive him, Nina. But I know I can live. I can fight for myself and for my child." And so began a new chapter in her life, not as a woman abandoned and slandered, but as a mother and an inspiration rising from ruin. Since Marielle left the mansion, Damian and Vanessa's relationship became more brazen. At business events, they held hands, as if nothing needed hiding. For Vanessa, this was the triumph she'd always wanted. Public proof she was the new partner of a powerful CEO. But triumph turned fast. One morning, Damian's secretary called in a panic. "Sir, you need to turn on the news. Every outlet is talking about you." He grabbed the remote. The screen showed a photo of him and Vanessa, holding hands, even kissing, entering a hotel. The headline screamed, "CAO Damian Herrera in affair with secretary while still married." The remote slipped from his hand. Beside him, Vanessa smiled, unbothered. "Relax, Damian. What's the problem? Everybody does it. Now everyone knows I'm the one with you." "You don't understand," he snapped. "It's not just my name. My company is at stake." Within hours, the story spread on social media. Damian trended, not for business, but for scandal. Shameful, CEO and a cheater. Poor wife. Is this the company's image? Investors began to doubt. At the next board meeting, the directors' looks were ice cold. "We've defended you for years," one director said, "but we can't cover this up. When you're CEO, every move affects the company. Nearly half our investors have pulled out." Damian stared at the report, names of those who withdrew, millions gone overnight. Back at the office, employees avoided his eyes and whispered. The PR head called it bluntly, "Sir, we can't control the narrative anymore. Your public image is wrecked." Vanessa was unfazed. Sipping coffee in his office, she said, "Maybe it's time we get married. End the gossip." Damian frowned. "This isn't about marriage. Can't you see? Everything I built is crumbling." Vanessa smirked. "Then you need me to rebuild it, choose me completely, and investors I know will come in." But a new question tugged at Damian. Was this really the woman to fight for? When he returned to the mansion that night, reporters swarmed outside, shouting, "Mr. Herrera, are you separating from your wife? Did you leave her for your mistress? Will you resign as CEO?" Cameras flashed. He forced his way in, feeling his world cave in. Weeks passed and things worsened. Contracts cancelled, projects pulled, his once stable name now tabloid fodder. Alone in his office at night, papers spread before him. He had no strength left. He remembered Marielle, how she sat beside him, offering words of support without seeing the battles he faced. Now she was gone, and with her everything else seemed to fall. "Sir," his secretary whispered, stepping in, "the board is considering removing you as CEO." The sky fell on him then. Once admired, he had become a disgrace. In the Heir Corporation boardroom, Damian entered to a cold silence. He tried to begin his presentation, but a director held up a tabloid. A clear photo of Marielle in a flowing dress, the curve of her belly unmistakable, smiling as she spoke with children at a charity event. The paper slid toward Damian. "Is this your wife?" All eyes turned to him. "She's pregnant," the director added, "and according to the caption, she volunteers at a foundation for people with disabilities." "Formerly your wife." Damian's heart pounded in his ears. "Mr. Herrera," another director pressed, "is the child hers? Yours?" Time slowed. Media laughter, staff whispers, boardroom stares, all swirled. "I don't know," he whispered. Shock and disappointment flashed across faces. "You don't know?" another director said sharply. "Does that mean you don't care, or that the rumors are true, that you chose your secretary over your wife?" The words cut. He had abandoned Marielle. He had chosen Vanessa. If the baby was real, how? When? He remembered the days he didn't throw Marielle out, yet still shamed her, the last time she begged before he chose Vanessa for good. "If this is true," a director said, "your company may have an heir someday. But how do we defend the firm when its own CEO knows nothing about his family?" Shame and panic washed over him. Back in his office, he stared at the tabloid photo, at her rounded belly. "You're pregnant," he whispered, "and I didn't even know." His emotions exploded. How he had thrown Marielle away, believed Vanessa's lies, and now learned the woman he once loved carried a life. News outlets pounced. "Blind wife of CEO pregnant. Whose child is it?" Will Damian choose family or mistress? He spiraled. Wasn't he the only man in Marielle's life? Then the child was his. Why hadn't she told him? He remembered the last time he'd driven her out, the tears on her face. Now he understood why she hadn't fought back. She wasn't alone. There was a child to protect. That evening, Vanessa arrived with Damian's favorite liquor. "Don't worry about the issue," she purred. "If she's pregnant, it's probably Adrian's." Gossip Damian didn't believe her anymore. A painful truth pressed on him. Vanessa had been wrong all along. "Leave, Vanessa," he said coldly. "Wait, what? Please, go." For the first time, he refused to listen to her. For the first time, he chose to believe the possibility that Marielle and the child inside her were his. That night, alone in the mansion, no cameras, no investors, no staff, Damian sat with the tabloid photo of Marielle in his hands. One sentence ran through his mind as long-suppressed tears fell. "Is that my child?" Crystal chandeliers glittered in a Manhattan hotel ballroom, while violins played and guests arrived, well-known business leaders, philanthropists, and media partners, at a charity event supporting people with disabilities. Damian sat at his table in a black tuxedo, the weight of his crumbling company on his face. He didn't expect what came next. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest speaker tonight, Miss Marielle Santiago." Time stopped as he turned to the stage and saw the woman he hadn't seen in so long. Marielle, standing tall, cane in hand, simple yet elegant in a navy blue gown, the curve of her belly visible. Her aura had changed, confident, strong. The ballroom fell quiet as she spoke. "Many of you came to support our foundation. But beyond donations, what we need most is acceptance and respect. Yes, I'm blind, but that doesn't mean I can't live fully, love and be loved." Smiles and nods spread through the crowd. Damian watched admiration bloom around her, not pity for a disabled woman, but respect for a symbol of strength. Guilt stabbed him, realizing how deeply he'd hurt her. When she finished, a standing ovation thundered. Donors lined up to greet her. Damian rose and followed her into the hallway. "Marielle," he called softly. She turned, composed. "Damian," she replied, neither warm nor cold, as if to a distant acquaintance. "It's been a long time," he rasped. "I didn't know you were the speaker." A faint, restrained smile touched her lips. There are many things you don't know, Damian. Before he could answer, Vanessa swept in. So here you are, she snapped, jealousy in her eyes. Still can't resist a scene, can you, Marielle? Using your blindness to win sympathy. Passers-by slowed, listening. Marielle stayed calm, but the onlookers' faces showed shock and disapproval. An elderly donor stepped forward. Miss Vanessa, I didn't expect such behavior. This event is for inspiration, not insults. Another woman added, with that attitude, I won't trust the company you represent. People drifted away from Vanessa, whispering. Flushed with shame and anger, Vanessa shouted, You don't understand, and stormed out. Damian stood frozen. For the first time, he took Marielle's side, not from obligation, but because he finally felt how wrong everything had been. Marielle, he tried again. She tapped him lightly away with her cane. You don't need to say anything, Damian. I'm happy with my life now. I'm not the woman you abandoned. She walked off, head high, dignity intact. The next day, Damian stared out his office window, useless papers strewn across his desk, her image from last night etched in his mind. Navy gown, head held high, commanding a room. She wasn't the woman he'd shamed. She was stronger, part of a new world where he didn't belong. Sir, are you all right? His assistant asked gently. Leave me, he replied, not with anger, but with exhaustion. That night, he found out where Marielle worked and drove straight to the foundation. Children's laughter greeted him. He saw Marielle on a bench, guiding a little girl with clay colors. Though blind, her joy lit her face. He froze a few yards away, realizing he was no longer the source of her smiles. He drew a breath and walked closer. Marielle. She set the clay aside, smoothed the child's hair, and turned toward his voice. Damian, she said simply. No heat, no hatred, but clear distance. Can we talk? He asked, almost pleading. After a pause, fine. But here. I don't have time for your drama. He nodded and sat beside her. Marielle, I have no right to come near you, but I have to say this. I was wrong, terribly wrong. His voice shook. I hurt you. I shamed you. I left you. Now I eat that regret every day. She held her cane, listening. Seeing you like this, stronger, happier, shows me how blind I was. I want to make things right. Please, give me a chance. Silence stretched before Marielle spoke, calm but cutting. Too late, Damian. Her chin lifted, as if looking straight into his eyes. I'm not trash you fight to keep, only after you've gotten everything you wanted elsewhere. He felt ice pour over him. Marielle, do you remember me crying in the mansion? You humiliating me in public, driving me out like I had no worth, and now you return because the other woman is gone. That isn't love, words failed him. She stood, steady. I can stand on my own, Damian. I don't need your pity, and most of all, I no longer need your love. You're too late. She walked away, leaving him on the bench, stunned, hollowed out by a pain deeper than lost investors or a fallen company. One afternoon at the foundation, Marielle sat at a small table, smiling as a boy shared his dream of becoming a pilot. A sudden twisting pain shot through her belly. She cried out, dropping the clay figures. Volunteers rushed in, Nina's hands trembled. Call Dr. Adrian. He sprinted from a nearby room, checked her pulse, pale, drenched in sweat. Get the car. We're going to the hospital now. In the car, Marielle clutched her stomach, shaking. Adrian. The baby. Please. We'll make it, Marielle. Don't let go, he said, voice firm despite the fear. At the ER, nurses took over. Adrian briefed the team. She's pregnant, several months. Stress is a risk. Watch for sustained pain. A longtime board member and friend phoned Damian. Marielle's in the hospital. She's pregnant. The world dropped out from under him. He flew down hospital corridors, breathless, to find Marielle pale and weak in bed. Marielle, he whispered, hands shaking as he approached. She lifted her brow, eyes cold. Now you show up? What's her condition? He demanded, nearly shouting. Adrian exhaled. The baby needs careful monitoring. She must avoid stress. And, he looked Damian dead in the eye, you're the father. Lightning. What? Yes, Nina cried. Marielle carries your child, not anyone else's. Damian staggered, gripping his head. My God! Adrian blocked him from the bedside. Do you know she nearly died carrying this baby? She's been fighting for this child alone. Where were you? The words were knives. Then Adrian added what he'd held back for years. Do you know why she went blind? Damian's eyes widened. Why? It wasn't an accident. The night you almost fell from the stairs, she pulled you back and took the impact. She kept quiet so you wouldn't blame yourself. Damian shook, denial crumbling as Nina, weeping, nodded. It's true, sir. She loved you that much, and you pushed her away. Memories detonated, his public scorn, cold stares, cruel words, now returning like a storm. On the bed, Marielle stirred, weak. She heard Damian's voice quake. Marielle, forgive me. She closed her eyes again, choosing silence. She thought only of the life inside her. Damian sank into a chair, head bowed, finally feeling the true weight of his sins. Not just losing a wife, but smothering any hope that remained. For the first time, he feared losing Marielle, and the child he hadn't even known was his. Tension crackled in the Herrera Corporation boardroom. Directors, investors, and key officers sat in expectant silence. Damian entered, face set, legal advisors behind him. Vanessa, in the expensive blazer and wearing her usual smug smile, purred, "What's the special occasion?" He didn't answer, just turned on the projector. Documents appeared, bank transfers, contracts bearing Vanessa's signature, emails, voice recordings. This, Damian said, voice chilled, is why our company fell these past months. Not the market, not a crisis, but the very person we trusted. Head swiveled toward Vanessa, she forced a smile. What are you implying? An auditor stood. Our official report shows Ms. Vanessa diverted funds into dummy accounts and arranged under-the-table deals corroborated by associates. Here are the receipts and statements. Vanessa lurched to her feet, face drained. That's not true. Damian, tell them. He stared back, emotionless. Don't insult my intelligence. Murmurs rippled. So that's why the stock crashed, an investor said. We were conned. A board member rose. Effective immediately, you're removed from any role in this company. The chair turned to Damian. As CEO, the final word. He nodded. You have no connection here anymore, and I'm pressing charges. Fraud, embezzlement, everything you did behind our backs. Security stepped in. Vanessa thrashed and sobbed. Damian, please. I did it for us. Give me another chance. We can fix this. He didn't respond. As guards dragged her out, she shrieked, If you think this is over, you're wrong. I'll ruin Marielle till the end. She will not be happy. The room went still. Damian faced the door. Whatever you plan, Vanessa, I won't let Marielle be touched again. Not ever investors, sobered, pledged support. Alone at the table, Damian realized Vanessa, desperate and dangerous, made Marielle's world even riskier. He drew a long breath. I won't lose Marielle again. I won't let anyone destroy her. Hospital hallways hummed softly with machines and nurses' steps. Marielle saw Damian again, sitting outside her room, holding flowers. Not the imperious CEO, but a man whose world had fallen apart. Marielle, he said in a small voice as he helped her back to bed. She didn't answer, just lay down, still weak. He set the flowers by the bed. I know I don't deserve to be here. I just want you to know. I'm not leaving this time. She met his gaze. It's not that simple, Damian. You can't erase everything with one bouquet. You can't force a shattered heart to heal. He stayed anyway, like a child waiting to be forgiven. At the foundation, he saw another side of her, teaching kids to read Braille, voice warm, eyes shining. Hey, Mr. Damian, a boy in a wheelchair grinned. Are you Ms. Marielle's husband? She's so kind to us, Damian smiled, a pang in his chest. Yes, that's me. Watching her, he felt awe and the ache that he no longer belonged in her world. In the boardroom, problems persisted. How do we recover, Mr. CEO? An investor asked. Our name is still stained by Vanessa's scandal and by your choices. Damian stood under their heavy stares. I won't deny my failures, but from now on, I won't repeat them. This company was built on trust. That's what I'll restore. Some nodded. Others weren't convinced. Inside, he knew Marielle and their child were the reason he kept fighting. One night on the foundation veranda, Marielle faced the breeze. Adrian brought warm milk. "You're tired, Marielle. You don't have to hold back if you need to cry." She smiled, faint but firm. "I can't break. I have a child. I can't give my heart away again so easily, even to Damian." A quiet beat. "But you still love him," Adrian said, not a question, an observation. Marielle fell silent, knowing he was right but choosing not to answer. Across the veranda, Damian, unintentionally overhearing, felt both pain and hope. Her love wasn't dead. He vowed, no matter how hard, he wouldn't stop. Marielle and their child were his only treasure. Sunlight warmed the foundation courtyard as Damian arrived. No suit, just jeans and a simple polo, carrying boxes of food and supplies. "Sir Damian." A nurse blinked. He smiled, not the cold CEO smile. "I'm not here as a boss, just a volunteer." He found Marielle with the children. "Damian, what are you doing here?" she asked, surprised. He lifted boxes of books and toys. "May I help?" "I'm not a teacher, but I can be useful." She hesitated, then let him sit nearby. A shift began. The next day, he spent the whole day there, organizing supplies, cooking meals, hauling boxes, playing with the kids. "Didn't know you could wash dishes," a volunteer joked. He laughed. "You learn everything when you're starting over." From a distance, Marielle listened, still wary, yet the man who once shamed her now chose humility. Still, fear lingered. At work, he launched reforms: project transparency, scholarships for employees, removal of corrupt managers he once ignored. Even the board was surprised. "You're different, Mr. Damian," the chair said. He smiled faintly. The truth, Marielle and their child were his reason. During a small program, Marielle wobbled with a back spasm and nearly fell. "Marielle," Damian caught her, easing her into a chair. "I'm okay," she whispered, though shaken. He gently held her hand. "Let me help. I'm not the Damian who left you. I'll wait as long as it takes for you to trust me." She paused, words forming, but stayed silent, sensing sincerity shadowed by fear of being hurt again. Afterward, he led games with the kids, laughter ringing as small hands clung to him. Marielle sat nearby, listening. Soon he offered his hand. "Come, join them." Slowly she took it. Together they walked to the children, and the courtyard filled with bright laughter. In that joy, a new hope flickered. Yet Marielle kept her guard up. Late that night, stabbing pain tore through her belly. The foundation house whirled into motion. "Marielle, stay calm. We're taking you to the hospital," staffer Althea shouted. Marielle clutched the bed, sobbing. "It hurts. I can't." Adrian rushed in. "Hold my hand, Marielle. We're almost there. You're not alone." Even as she gripped Adrian, a name echoed in her heart. Damian. At the hospital, nurses and doctors converged. Footsteps, clicks of instruments, clipped commands. "Critical. Pregnancy complication. Prep for emergency surgery." Marielle's world tilted. She gripped Adrian's hand. "If something happens to me, please take care of my baby." Adrian couldn't answer, the weight too heavy. Damian arrived, breathless. "Where is she?" He nearly collapsed, seeing Marielle pale on the stretcher, shaking, barely conscious. He took her hand. "I'm here, Marielle. I won't leave. Forgive me, please. I'll fight for both of you." She heard his voice, familiar and raw with fear and remorse. "Damian, I'm scared," she whispered. "Don't be, love. I'm here. We'll fight." Together he wasn't allowed in the OR, so he knelt outside, trembling. "God, if someone has to die, let it be me. Not Marielle, not our child. Give me a chance to make this right inside." Orders flew, instruments hummed, her heart raced. Cold air bit her skin. A nurse squeezed her hand. For a moment she felt herself slipping, but memories flared. The scorn, the exile, and the courage that carried her back. "I have to live. For my child," she told herself. Hours crawled. The door swung open. "We saved both mother and child," the surgeon announced. Damian sagged against the wall, tears breaking free. Inside, a baby's cry rang, strong, full of life. He reached the incubator, hands shaking as he touched a tiny palm. "My child," he whispered. "Thank you for coming." He went to Marielle, pale but smiling. I heard him, she breathed. He took her hand. Yes, love. You're both safe. I promised God I'd never leave you again. As the nurse settled her, Marielle said softly, Damian, I hope that's true. He wept, kissing her hand. It's true. No more lies. Only you. Only our child. The baby cried again, a signal of a new beginning. The room was quiet. Soft AC, monitor beeps. Marielle rested. The newborn slept nearby. Damian stood by the bed, looking at the miracle he had nearly destroyed. He took her hand. Thank you for giving our child life. Thank you for fighting, even when I didn't deserve you. Marielle opened her eyes, still pale but stronger. Why are you still here, Damian? Didn't you turn your back on me long ago? His heart skewered, he sank to his knees. Yes, I chose pride and fear. I believed Vanessa's lies. I was blind. But I can't deny it anymore. It's always been you. I'm begging your forgiveness. Her eyes burned, not just with anger, but with the weight of memory, the nights of pain, the days of fading hope. I never thought I'd hear those words again, she whispered. He clutched her hand. I don't deserve another chance, but I'll try anyway. I won't ask you to forgive me today. I only want you to know I'm ready to make amends, for the rest of my life if I have to. The baby cried. Marielle rose carefully, feeling for the crib. Damian guided her, placing the child in her arms. As she nursed, she turned toward him. Look at him. I can't see him, but I feel his warmth, his heartbeat. He's why I fought. If you haven't changed, I will never let him be hurt as you hurt me. Tears streamed down Damian's face. That's my promise too, not just for you, but for our child. Weeks later, the foundation staff visited. They found Damian arranging flowers and meals by the bed, now a quiet guardian. Mr. Damian, we didn't expect to see you here, Althea said. He gave a rueful, honest smile. I left before. Now I'll do everything to stay. People exchanged looks. They saw the difference. He wasn't the arrogant CEO. He was a man willing to bow for family. Soon, mother and baby were discharged. Marielle didn't agree to go back with Damian, but he didn't stop serving. Daily milk, medicine, baby supplies, unfazed by her coolness. One evening on the foundation veranda, with the baby asleep, she spoke. I'm afraid to trust again, Damian. He stood before her, squarely facing the woman who couldn't see him. I'm not asking you to forget. I can't erase what I did. I'm only asking for a chance to prove I'm not the man who hid you in shame or ignored your love. She listened, the weight of his words sinking in. Days later, the foundation held a small Thanksgiving gathering for everyone who supported Marielle's pregnancy and delivery. Donors, volunteers, and several Heir Corporation board members attended. During the program, Damian walked to the front, hands shaking around the microphone. Good evening. I'm not used to speaking like this. Not as a CEO, but as a man who gravely erred. He looked toward Marielle, holding their child. Marielle, in front of everyone, I ask your forgiveness. I can't return the time I wasted, but I ask to make right what's ahead. Murmurs spread, many startled by his humility and courage. Marielle stood, baby in arms, and approached the mic. Her voice was soft but clear. Damian, I've been hurt for a long time. I doubted if your love still existed. But feeling your change now, I can't withhold forgiveness. Not because I've forgotten, but because I want us whole for our child. Applause burst. Some cheered. The truest response, though, was Damian's tears as he embraced Marielle and their baby. Held together in the crowd's warmth, they both felt a weight lift. Yesterday's wounds began to knit. Damian whispered, "Thank you for another chance. I won't waste it." Marielle smiled, cradling their child. "This is the last chance, Damian. May it also be the beginning of our true family." That night, the shadows of the past didn't reach them. Only the light of new hope remained, a family restored, and a love that finally found true forgiveness. Thank you for listening. It's your friend, Uncle Joel. Don't forget to subscribe for more epic tales and adventures.